мною принято решение о проведении специальной военной операции.
Today at 1, we're live in Ukraine as Russia invades in a major military assault by land, sea and air.
It's now more than a month since the US Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, visited Taiwan. China's ambassador to Australia also issued a blunt warning a few days ago that those who push for Taiwanese independence will be punished.
We're waiting for a peaceful reunification, but we cannot rule out other options.
You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed, it'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore.
This is why we fight. Democracy is at war. Across the world we see the forces rallied against it. From the authoritarian regimes of Russia, China, Iran and North Korea to techno-aristocrats, religious fundamentalists and populist demagogues. In the battlefields of Ukraine to the Straits of Taiwan and the halls of power in the United States, democratic, free values are under determined assault. But there are those who resist. They are activists, journalists, academics, soldiers, religious leaders and politicians. In this series, we will meet those who claim to be fighting for a free world. We will find out who they are, how they're involved in the struggle, what democracy means to them, and why it's worth fighting for. Okay, welcome to this episode of Why We Fight. We are recording at the Buena Vista Social Club in Kyiv, and I am speaking with Freddie Steimler, who is a member of the organisation from Norway, Bergen Hjelper Ukraina. Freddie, thank you very much for coming on the show. Can you tell us a little bit about your history?
Yes. First of all, thank you for having me. It's I am a veteran. I've served in the Norwegian army for a total of 27 years. I worked as an instructor and I was deployed various theaters, and I got medically retired after I was wounded in Afghanistan. So that's pretty much me. I have a darling wife, I have a son, a daughter and another on the way, and I live in beautiful Bergen, Norway.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank
all
you.
the way.
Thank you very much.
And what are you doing in Ukraine?
In Ukraine, we are here delivering aid, humanitarian aid and frontline aid through a organization called Bergen Hjelper Ukraina, as you mentioned, and also that's under the umbrella of Fyllingsdalen Theatre. It's a children's theatre. And so we get vehicles and whatever humanitarian aid we can get. We drive it down and we deliver it. No middleman. We get the equipment, we deliver the equipment. Then we fly back home or walk back home or take a train or a bus, whatever's needed.
And how many runs have you done? How much aid have you delivered so far, if you can tell me?
Yes, there has been 30 trips with this organization. Started with trucks, lorries with clothing and food and whatever was needed in the beginning of the invasion. And they also did runs back with refugees, took them up to Norway. And after that, we've primarily focused on bringing vehicles, equipment and basic necessities for the majority of the trips. So I would estimate, I don't know the exact number, but I would estimate around 100 plus vehicles and tons of equipment, generators, food, nappies, whatever's needed.
And you mentioned that the organisation you're in is under the umbrella of a theatre.
Yes, yeah.
How did that start?
It basically started because Mr. John Quist, who is the director of the Fyllingsdalen Theatre, his in-law is Kjetil. He is a circus director, and both of them had lots of Ukrainian colleagues. And when the invasion started, they immediately wanted to help. and they immediately did. And it kind of grew from there. So it was, I don't remember how many trips before it became very organized, but in the beginning it was just grab what you have and get it down and get people out. And then it expanded and grew from there, and Bergen Hjelper Ukraina came in, and they are running it now. But Jan Quist and Fyllingsdalen Theater, they were the founders.
And if I may ask, how is this all funded? How do you get the cash together for these vehicles and kit?
We have very gracious donors. The donors vary. It could be from every man, woman and child who wants to donate a pound or a dollar or a euro, up to major financial institutions like banks, and we are currently working with one of the largest banks in our region, which are Sparebanken Norge. They have been extremely helpful, invaluable to us, and we have Janus wool factory outside Bergen. There is so many. There's too many to mention, but there is a lot. And we also do inter-organization collaborations, so that if we have some equipment that is not in our field of expertise, or if we don't have room for it, or we don't have a trip going and the equipment is really needed, we reach out to other organizations, and the other organizations do the same with us. So it's we're united towards a common goal.
To ensure that you're not sort of working against each other and bringing prices up and that sort of thing.
Yes, because we did notice an increase in prices of used pickups in Norway, and it wasn't until some of our brilliant minds, that's not me, talked amongst themselves and figured out that they were actually bidding on the same cause. So now we try to talk to the other organizations. It doesn't always work, but we do try to not bid against each other on needed vehicles or equipment.
So you mentioned you're a veteran.
Yes.
You served, I think it was 29 years in the military in Norway.
27 total, yes, yeah.
And we've just been, I went with you guys, we went to drop off the vehicles fairly close by to the front lines. We met the soldiers there, and we saw quite a lot of the impact of this war. How is this war different, and in what ways is it different to the wars you've seen and served in?
Well, until the first time I went down here, I thought that I had a pretty good knowledge and a pretty good experience when it comes to war fighting. Last time, as I said, I was deployed, it was 2007 and 8 in Afghanistan. And I was down there as a scout sniper commander. But this is a total different ballgame. It has, of course, the elements of old-fashioned war, but the majority here seems to be drone and electronic warfare. We've always had electronic warfare. We have some sort of drone operations, and but then we're basically talking like bigger American drones for surveillance, and there's like air-to-surface missiles and that sort of thing. Now it is FPVs, it is personalized drones, it's innovation at the front line, as we've seen from the factories we've been in, and in the drone operations that we've been fortunate enough to be invited into. And we've seen that is, as I see it, the guys who hold the front line, because they can be fast in the air, they can attack fast, they can surveil a massive area, and there are multiple locations that do the exact same thing, but they are in-house nevertheless. So they do all their innovation, and if they come up with something good, they share it with the other drone positions and drone labs and bomb factories and yeah, it surprises me that everything is done in-house. That's mind-baffling. It's total opposite of what I've been used to, where we get handed equipment and this is what you have to work with. Don't think for yourself or you will get hurt. This is think for yourself or you will get hurt. And it's changed my view completely.
And what was your impression? I mean, we've been to Bucha, to Izium, and we've seen a lot of war damage along the way. What's your impression of how the Russians are fighting this war?
They target civilians. They target civilians to install fear. They target civilians just acts of terror, and there's no way around it. That's what they are doing. That's what we are seeing. It's reported in media. We have eyewitnesses. We are now eyewitnesses. It is unnecessary. It's the warfare of a terrorist state. It's not even warfare, in my opinion. It is just acts of terror. There is no need to target elderly and children. And I do understand the ways of war. You do want to eliminate fighting able-bodied men and women. But civilians and elderly and children, there is no excuse. And they purposely go after soft targets like that. And civilian structure, it's also, they do not attack, well, of course they do attack military targets, but they seem to target areas with a majority of civilians. And when they do, they try to hide them in mass graves. We've been to several sites where we've seen graves dug up, exhumated, and they are still being discovered. So it's not just the ones in Bucha. It's not just the ones in Izium. It worries me to see how many there are, and how many there are who is not found yet.
How does that make you feel as a warfighter, a former warfighter, and a person?
I'm glad you asked two separate. I'm glad you separated those, because it's as a warfighter, it makes me understand the enemy, or at least try to, and it also tells what kind of people, or no, not people, non-humans you're fighting. And as a person, it makes me angry, makes me sad, and I can't comprehend the need. The only thing you do is make the rest of the population hate you when you target elderlies and children in particular. That is a reason for extreme hate among the population. So I don't understand it. I don't get what they're trying to achieve other than just terror and purposely making a whole nation hate you. Not even nation, a world, basically. Unless you are supported by other dictators, of course. But I cannot understand what they're trying to achieve with targeting elderly and children. It makes no sense.
And we've met a number of soldiers here, a number of Ukrainian soldiers. Again, as a warfighter, what's your impression of them?
They are high in morale. They are dedicated. It's a whole different type of fighters than I've been used to. Previously, it's been, you need to be fit, you need to be well trained, you need to be able to carry heavy gear and be willing to risk your life on the front line. And the similarities is that you basically are willing to risk your life on the front line. And a lot of it stops there. There are, of course, an extreme need for the old type of warfighters, but the majority here is tech guys. It's gamers. It's people who like to tinker with toys. It's engineers. It's everything from the scrawniest little person who is eager to fight the oppression to the elderly man who has an architectural degree from the university, who is designing bomb droppers or launch pads or whatever it is. It's a coalition of people that you would not see in the front lines a war ago or 2 wars ago. So that's something that both surprised and thrilled me, because now it feels more that everybody can contribute. It's not just that you have to be able to run 15K and so long with a backpack on. It's now you can you can be wheelchair bound, and you can be one of the most effective soldiers. And yeah, so I want to say that's good, but there shouldn't be a need for it, should it? Yeah.
And a lot of the discussion about this war is couched in the terms of dictatorship and democracy, and what we see is the two at war. What does democracy mean to you? What's the value of it for you?
First of all, the freedom of choice and the ability to be one's person, to be able to choose, to have a multiple choice in government, to have basically more than one party to vote for. And democracy, yeah, it's the freedom of choice, physical choice, but mental choice, the opportunity to be what you want to be, freedom of speech, say what you want without having to worry about having a government official knock on your door, which we start to see in more and more Western countries as well, unfortunately. The freedom of self.
What other threats do you see to democracy other than the Russian invasion?
Political influence, shadow donations, attack on gas pipes, on infrastructure. There's a massive troll factory, well, not one, but several troll factories that specifically target Western democracy. Not just Western, Eastern, worldwide democracy. And but I think the massive threat is the installment of ideas in political parties that were considered part of democracies that now are being turned into working for totalitarian leaders and totalitarian party members. And I think it's worrying that a lot of this goes under the radar. And I think it's worrying that you have to do deep searches to find out about these things. It's not something that's reported in mainstream media much. There will be some obscure reports, but what I'm afraid of is that we don't see the bigger picture. I think there is a lot of influence that we still are not aware of, and we have political parties, even in Norway, that have funding they don't want to talk about. They don't want to mention where they come from, even though it's against the party law in Norway. We actually have a case going with that right now, and it's. I think there will be more and more of this, because there are very wealthy dictator nations that want to influence and expand their reach, so to say. So yeah, that's what I worry about. I worry about the attack on democracy on a shadow plane.
And what would you say to those, either back home in Norway or in Western Europe in general, who are beginning to lose their faith in democracy?
Look at the options. Look at the options. See if you can find something better than democracy. It has been tried. It does not work. It's like the definition of madness is trying the same thing over and over again and getting hurt each time. There are no viable options. There are a lot of fairy tale options that it sounds really good, but none work. The thing that we see, the ones who value our freedom, we all see that there are no other options. And that's how I feel, or else I wouldn't have been here as a volunteer. It is no other option. We have totalitarian states, totalitarian leaders, dictators, sociopaths. It's all other countries that are undemocratic. They have uprisings, they have oppression. To me, it is just look at the other options. That's the best advice I can give. There are none. If you want to be able to be free of body and mind and be able to do what you want, no, there are no other options.
Earlier this year, there was a 27-year-old German author who released a book explaining why he would never fight for his country. And that, in paraphrasing him, he said he'd rather live under oppression than die. And we see across a lot of Western Europe, especially, recruitment numbers for the military going down, and in those countries where, in Europe, where we have conscription, retention numbers after the conscription period are going down. Why do you think that is?
The Norwegian military did a survey on that a couple of years ago. I don't remember the exact year, but back then it was the main reason for people not wanting to go into the military because it was not the career that they wanted, even though it was just the 1 year conscription. It's on the increase in, well, I can only speak for Norway on this matter, but it's on the increase in Norway now because we are a small country and we don't like being stepped on, and we like our democracy. We've fought for our democracy, and it's highly valued in Norway. And as to the German you mentioned, it's democracy means that he has that choice. In for instance, Russia, he wouldn't have. He would have been told what to do, and he would have been sent to the front. And if he would have tried to deny it, he would have been sent to the meat grinder, and he would die. And it's that's. I think that people have been having a too good of a life. They haven't had to worry about these things, and it hasn't been talked about in the families. It hasn't been in media. There has been no focus on, well, very little focus on the need for a strong defense of each sovereign nation. And it's, I think it's part of the problem. I am 52, and my grandfather was in the resistance during the Second World War. And in my family, there was never any doubt that you have to do your part to keep democracy, to be able to have the freedom, and that freedom is not free. Freedom takes sacrifice, it takes being away from your family, it takes money, it takes, yeah, but point is, it's all worth it. With the morale of the young generation today, a lot of them are brilliant people, and a lot of them do make the sacrifices. They do join the military, they want to defend their countries, but we do see a decline. And it's this is my personal opinion. I think that everything has come quite easy to a lot of them, and they never had to worry about being invaded. And I think it scares them, and it should scare them, because it's a horrible, horrible thing. But sometimes you have to do horrible things to be able to keep your freedom. And it's, yeah, all it takes for evil men to succeed is that if good men do nothing. And there's so much truth in that. And sometimes good men has to do bad things. And I think that is hard to comprehend for some of the younger people in Western countries that hasn't seen a dictator state, or lived in one, or experienced one, or fought one previously.
Why is it worth fighting for? You've said it's worth fighting for as a self-evident, but if you can, and I agree with you, but if you can explain why.
Why? Because I have children. It's because you have to stand up against bullies. I want to have my own choice matter. I want my voice to be heard. I have no intention of letting myself being stepped on, and I will fight for the freedom to not have to. I will fight for the freedom of choice. And even for that German guy, I would fight for his right to deny it. I would fight for his right to live under oppression if that's what he wants, but I hope it never happens. But he can have the right to want to, or just capitulate, or whatever his his statement was. Yeah, and but yeah, it's basically don't let the bullies win, and it's I know that's like a very kindergarten thing to say, but stand up against bullies. It's a very simple sentence, but it has a lot of truth in it. Don't let people hold you down, and I will fight for the right for people to disagree with me as well. That's part of democracy. It's part of mental and physical freedom. You can choose to disagree, and we can vote. And if I lose, I will abide. That is part of it all, and that is what I want to fight for.
Going back to purely military affairs, the question just occurred to me. If somebody, like a 16, 17-year-old Westerner, was thinking about joining the military, what would your advice be, having seen what you've seen in Ukraine?
It's needed. And there are so many levels. You don't have to be at the front line to be able to help. And a lot of the service is not on the front line. So it's people who are considering joining, I would absolutely recommend it. It is, of course, a risk, war being a constant risk. But it's needed. Morals are high, but we need every able-bodied person we can. And yeah, I don't know if it's comparable, but we had a minister once say that Norwegian soldiers weren't involved in actions of war in Afghanistan. And it was an uproar in Norway amongst military and civilians. It's like, why don't you recognize this? And it's what surprised me back then was that civilian youth, like of military age, they were just as appalled by that statement as service members. And it's that showed me that civilians of fighting age, they are concerned about what's going on. They are, and this was back in 2007. So they are concerned about what's going on. And after that statement, there was a spike in 18-year-olds who wanted to do their conscription time. It wasn't much, but it was a spike, so it triggered something with them. And I hope that they see the need in this day and age to stand up as a unity towards an oppressor who will not stop if Ukraine does not stop him. I am very afraid that he will continue and just reorganize, regroup, and continue his quest for imperialism.
By he, you mean Vladimir Putin?
Yes, I mean Vladimir Putin. I do.
Again, on military affairs, as we've touched on before, we've been not to the zero line, but relatively close. We've met a lot of Ukrainian soldiers here. Is there any advice that you'd give to Major General Lervik about the direction to take the Norwegian military in?
Drones, without a doubt. The effect of drones and drone pilots and the ability to do their own research and development on site is invaluable. If we fall behind on drones, we will have a major problem should we ever be in the same situations as Ukraine is now, or if we should send troops to defend another country if Vladimir Putin continues his invasions. So absolutely drones, that is the one major advice I would give to all sovereign nations. Drones. It is the most effective. It is massively underrated in other countries. And this is what's holding the front line now. Not to demean any of the other warfighters in Ukraine at all, but the drones are the eye in the sky, and they are dropping bombs, they are laying mines, they are clearing obstacles, they are dropping food to soldiers who are trapped, they are dropping medical supplies, and the drone pilots are constantly on. They wake up, they eat, they fly, they go to sleep, they eat, they fly. Drones.
April 23, the Norwegian foreign minister said that he would not be withdrawing from the Ottawa Treaty and the ban on anti-personnel landmines.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's time to reconsider?
That's, for me, a very loaded question. It's both yes and no. Mm-hmm. I think mines are an atrocity in every form, but there is also a value in it to stop a invading force. But it's just every military mind thinks the same about this. They hate mines, but they are effective. They hate mines, but they will stop the enemy from getting to you. They will create casualties that will take up time and resources and money. So, but the problem with mines is that you have to clean them up, and it's not just your own, but the ones that the enemy put down. And from my experience, there hasn't been a lot of registries of the mine fields. You would have area, but not locations. So it will take massive amounts of manpower to clean it up, and they will take years and years to create safe areas where there has been minefields. So my personal opinion, I would rather live and never see a mine in my life. But on a military perspective, they are effective and unfortunately necessary in some areas.
Back to Ukraine and back to the civilian world. Well, partly the civilian world. Potentially there's a military answer to this question, but if somebody wanted to come and help in this country, in Ukraine, and help their fight for freedom, what would your advice to them be? And what should they do?
From a civilian perspective, contact aid organizations. There are several in every country, in every city, and it's there is a lot of them who are going to Ukraine. They are delivering items, they are doing fundraisers, but you don't have to do much. That's the thing. I think people are a bit stagnated because it's like, oh yeah, well, there's not much I can do. If you can knit a hat, that will help. Like there are orphans in maternity wards. There's so much need for most everything. Ukraine is a very hospitable country. They are very giving and sharing, and very Western in their mindset, as I experienced them. They think the same as we do. They have the same needs as we do, and every little bit helps. If you have $1 or 1 krona or 1 hryvnia to donate, when enough people do it, it's a lot of money, and it is needed. The thing is that there is still a lot of equipment and aid that is needed at military and humanitarian stations, and it's like vehicles, like what we do, as I can draw a parallel to that. Vehicles that we deliver has a time limit. They do not last forever. They get hit by drones, they get hit by Lancets, Zalas, or they run over mines, they crash, they break just because roads are not very good. So it's like every couple of months or every couple of weeks, new vehicles are needed for every little position when the asphalt stops, so to say. But yeah, for people who want to contribute, contact the different organizations that already exist. You don't have to make your own, but by all means, if you want to make your own, do that, but just do something. Every little bit helps.
2 final questions. What do you do to relax, and what do you do for fun?
What do I do to relax? Oddly enough, I come here. No, it relaxes me to know that I do something to stop this. It relaxes me to know that I do something for my children by helping with what I can in Ukraine. It relaxes me to spend time with my wife and children. It relaxes me to go up to my cabin in the mountains and sit by the lake and fish. Relaxes me to listen to good music, to go diving. I like to walk my dog in the forest.
And do you have anything to say to the dictators of the world?
Your time will come. What you're doing will never succeed as long as you have free people in the world.
Freddie, thank you.
Thank you very much, Theo.
This has been Why We Fight. If you enjoyed the program, please consider subscribing to this show or financially supporting my work by following the Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee links below. For my written work and commentary, then check out my Substack, Dictators v Democrats. If you want to join a community of those who believe that democracy is worth fighting for, then feel free to join the Dictators v Democrats Discord server, which is also linked below. And remember, democracy is non-negotiable.